So as you can see, Erasmus is wearing some Ghanaian jersey for the very first time since you've ever seen him on this podcast. Today, he claims he's a proud Ghanaian because Ghana is sitting on top of the World Cup qualifiers group table with 15 points, 5 points clear of second place Madagascar, whom we just lashed 3-0 in the last match of the qualifying campaigns of this international break. Sorry, I think there are two more matches to go or so. But I think more importantly, you've had a much more prolific campaign in the World Cup qualifiers from the Ghana Black Stars. And that's where Erasmus's joy and happiness is coming from. For a lot of people, Erasmus, their joy is that they'll go to USA. Where's your joy coming from? Because I definitely know it's not because you go to USA.
When when they were playing the match with Madagascar, uh,
Yeah.
I think at some point within the match, the fans started screaming USA, USA, and I was like, I'm sure Americans will be looking at it thinking, "Oh my God, look us, they love us," but they don't know that.
No, no, they don't love you, Charlie.
No, but no, but for me, it's more than just the results or more than us going to
Yeah.
the World Cup. I frankly I didn't even know that we were still in the running for the World Cup qualifiers. After that entire AFCON disaster,
AFCON.
I had
Yeah.
written off the team and not bothered to check or care about what was going on. And
Yeah.
my friend said asked something. He said Chelsea's not going well, Ghana is also not going well. But somehow you are more optimistic about Chelsea than Ghana. And I was like, look,
Ah.
it's I believe more in the talent that Ghana has and the projects
Yeah.
we have and like what we can develop from these players. Like look at some of the players we have now. Kamaldeen Suleimana, probably the best player in Southampton in the last part of the
Yeah.
season. Kudus. Top three player in
Thomas
West Ham,
Partey.
Thomas Partey, like an integral part of a title winning side. Some of the new guys that
A
were
title what?
almost title, almost winning side.
Great. Good correction. Because
Antoine Semenyo, whose stocks are
flying
really
with Bournemouth.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like Enes Noama, like guys like Osman who will be coming through. So like we would
Yeah.
have a good crop of players given the initial investments we had done with the Right
Yeah.
to Dream Academy. Like there was an influx of academy
Yeah.
in Ghana within in the last 10 to 15 years where they set up
Yeah.
like model academies modeled after clubs like Juventus, North Jailer,
Yeah.
all of them made huge investments. And like the players that they are turning out are Ghanaians. So we end up
Yeah.
benefiting from it. So starting with Kudus and seeing the generation that's coming afterwards. So I know that they have huge
Yeah.
potential. But there's one thing I told him. You can understand process, you can have patience for everything, but you can't fix corruption. You can't fix
Yeah.
ineptitude. You can't fix when it's
Yeah.
not like we are trying and it's not working. They are actively trying to not make it work. When those are
Yeah.
the factors involved, it's a bit challenging. So it was quite refreshing to see the Black Stars playing that way. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but there were a lot of things which I
Yeah.
saw more than the results, which I was very happy about.
I mean, given the picture that you've just painted, because I think for a lot of people and for a lot of Ghanaian supporters, we tend to zone in a lot more into the corrupt and the terrible aspects of Ghanaian football management when the results are going badly. And we tend to quickly draw the link and say, these issues are the things that are leaking the rot into the field of play and causing the terrible results. My question is, we both know nothing much has changed in the management of the Black Stars, except the reconstitution of the Black Stars management team, where they brought in Schaefer, who is a very experienced coach who has won the AFCON before. But there were a lot of fuss made about it that he can't see properly, he's old, he can't really influence anything. But also, there was a lot of controversy around he is touted to be the technical director of the Ghana Football Association as a whole, but also he started to be an assistant or like a technical director of the Black Stars, which means when he goes to the Black Stars, he's under Coach Otuado. But when they come to a GFA setting, Coach Otuado is under him. And
Yeah.
so there were a lot of confusion about where exactly is the power dynamics going on. None of these things have changed. In fact, people would argue they've gotten worse, but the good results have come. Are you guys now starting to change your opinion that corruption doesn't beget terrible results?
I, I I don't know where to start from with this answer. We are football fans.
Yeah.
Like that's the first thing. We are football fans. We care about the results first, because as
Then
Ghanaians,
anything else can wait.
yeah, as Ghanaians, we are not
Yeah.
unfamiliar to all the
Yeah.
workings and all these things which you're talking about. And I'll be
Yeah.
lying if I sat here and thought that like my expectations of the institution over there will be that it will be
Has
robust and
changed.
strong. We know that we
Yeah.
do have structural issues, but I think that for us to move forward, we need to be able to change some of these things. And I feel
Yeah.
like in the pressure which we've put on the team in the last couple of months has at least got them to at least try and work on the football. Because if the football
Yeah.
is working and we are getting the results that we need and we deserve, then you are going to see a trickle down into all of the other places. Like there will be more people realize that accountability works. Like for the team to be
Yeah.
performing, we need to stop doing this. We need to stop doing that. And if they are always in tune, trying to work together to get us the results, I think ultimately we'll get to the point where even if these problems exist, they do not exist to the scale at which
Yeah.
it was a couple of months back. And
Okay.
then we'll be able to see some real progress there.
I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. But I also think generally that's just the character of football fans.
Yeah, we are football.
Anytime and football in general, when things are going bad, there's a lot more search as to
Yeah,
why things are going bad, and then there's a lot more effort to uncover a lot of things.
but
Because if these guys had lost these two matches,
it would
we
have.
would have seen the budget they spent on the two games. We would have, we would
And
have
not only that, like also the bar is quite
yeah,
low in football. The bar is quite low in
yeah,
football. Like if you're a football fan, and like of course we've been discussing a lot of these issues here on the shaft. The bar is quite
yeah,
low in terms of recently news came out that Sepp Blatter and what's the other Michel Platini, they
yeah.
they've been let go. Like upon all
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like the bar is quite low in football. So you need to balance your expectations in that regard. And it may sound a bit
yeah,
hypocritical saying that, but we like football is our escape. If you think about it, for a lot of Ghanaians, football is our
yeah,
escape. And if our escape isn't working, that's when you see the hits will start turning up. Not to say that we shouldn't hold them accountable anymore, but this is the least they could do. This is the least they could do for us.
Hey, today their winning is the least they could do.
It's the least.
You people,
It's
you,
the least.
you people have gotten confidence,
Yes, because you will
but
spend the money
the
anyway.
the
You pay bonuses. So
yeah.
no matter what we do, whether they win or lose, we'll pay the bonus. So we might as well
Ah,
just win.
anyway, a few things. First, what do you think has changed about the team? Because it's the same coach. There was a lot of calls for Tuado to be let go. Um, I personally didn't like the bad patch that they went through. But I remember, if you would recall, the very first time he was reappointed as Black Stars coach, after his World Cup spell when he left, and then he was reappointed again. I think we had a discussion about his reappointment, and I've always been a fan of him. Not because he has any, no, not because he has any accolades to show for it. To be very honest, he doesn't have. These are critiques that are objective. He doesn't have accolades to show for it. He doesn't have the experience to show for it. He doesn't have the pedigree that, if you asked me whether he would be the first choice, if you put him aside some of the most experienced coaches on the continent, whether he would be the person I would pick to coach the Black Stars, I wouldn't pick Otuado, right? But when he was appointed, from his first spell in the World Cup qualification, when they went, we could all start to see something that the Black Stars were struggling to get at the time: a playing identity. I think around that time, one of the things that stood out was a very long string of passes, about 33 passes, that led us to score a goal against South Korea also, which was more like him showing the modern identity of football that we all want to see. This whole tiki taka, Pep Guardiola retain the ball and play a very conservative kind of football without posing a lot of risk in transition, right?
Mm.
Obviously, for me, that made me excited. But when he came back, the dressing room and everything was hell. And he made it even worse with his whole change of captaincy, this, his approach to interviews. I realize he's one of the most terrible communicators in the world. You see, you see, he's one of the most terrible communicators in the world. You remember when the AFCON thing happened, and then he and some journalists had some clashes where he wanted to explain his coaching pedigree and profile, and those are things you don't
Since the
do on
club
on
has
the media, right?
validated him, in the
Yeah,
span
Klopp has validated him, and bro, those are things you don't do. But if you ask me about his football identity, which he doesn't have an established one, but the ones I have seen that he has attempted to implement have been ones that I've been a fan of. And the thing about me also is, I don't know, I've I've not had a lot of, I've tried a lot of things. I've not justified myself with experience. I've justified myself with the grit and the daring to do it. So when I see somebody of his stature, I tend to see my journey in him. That there's a guy who has been given a big opportunity. He's not proving himself, but if he's willing to do it, he can prove himself.
so you're biased.
And unfortunately, I'm biased from a personal point of view. Unfortunately for him, unlike me, who start and sometimes get this right and then buy some favor to go and make the mistakes later, he made the mistakes early. So people came out for him. People were saying sack him, let him go, and then they reconstituted the backroom staff, and he's back again. But he's won 2 games with 8 goals and kept 2 clean sheets.
I couldn't
And
believe that. Like
bro,
when the
you
stats,
see, people were saying, "Oh, it's Chad, it's Chad." But we had struggled against Comoros.
yeah.
Comoros had beat us, right? So you don't say it's Chad. And even if it's Chad, you weren't expecting to win by 5 goals to nil.
To be
So
honest, the chat performance doesn't impress me as much as the Madagascar performance. I'll be honest,
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't watching the chat game because Chad are very very bad. It's somehow Chad rhymes with bad, and I can tell you that like you almost can't tell the difference.
How can you tell me this story?
Yeah,
Hey,
and this like in the lead up to the game, I think they had
yeah,
sacked their coach who had been consistent with them for a bit, and then three of their
yeah.
best players decided to retire. Like if you can't beat this team, if you can't beat this team, like
No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to beat them. I'm talking about the nature in which they beat
yeah,
them.
yeah, and I mean
And
I'll
this,
come to that.
because this was
I don't know. I'll
three
come to
nil
that.
before first half
Yeah,
ended.
and the
Right?
goals
This is
came
like
very quickly.
dominance.
Five
Very,
different
very
goal
quickly.
scorers. So I think it did raise my eyebrow because, like, when
Yeah.
it comes to the Black Stars, you also can't have expectations. In the same way,
Oh, that
I
one
was
there is
like
true.
Chad.
It's
I was
true.
also like, these days I don't even care about the name. When I just know that Black Stars is playing, I'm just praying. Like it's been so long since we played any competent team, but I don't remember the last.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I think maybe you can call Otoado a World Cup coach. Maybe that's his calling. We just
Well,
stay around, call him when it's time for the World Cup. But on a more serious note, though, I think what you're absolutely right in terms of what caught my eye was the playing style and the identity which he had brought to
yeah,
the team, but then also the defensive solidity which I began to see with the Black Stars. I was beginning
yeah,
to see attacking patterns, players knowing
yeah,
where to go to. And I know like, a lot of people listening to this will be like, but this is basic stuff. I know,
yeah.
I know.
But that's what Black Stars have been lacking all this
I
while.
know
Basic stuff.
they couldn't string two, three passes together. And like they would go for a ball and clash into each other. Like it was
Yeah,
unbelievable how bad they were. However, this team looks very confident. They look very, very aggressive. I saw that
yeah.
against Madagascar. They sat back a lot with two uh, like with
Holding midfielders.
yes, two a block of 4 and 5
Yeah.
and only Semenyo up top with Jordan playing as a 10 and also
As
stacking
a
in on
10.
the right,
Yeah.
which showed me that there were clear tactical instructions and a clear vision to exploit the weakness within um, the
Yeah.
the side. But then also, I think part of what we see with that, like me seeing that aggression, it reminded me of the speech that Asamoah Gyan had given to them a couple of days
Yeah.
ago, asking
Yeah.
them to
Yeah.
show a bit more passion. And that's the thing with Ghanaians. Like, we know that's the ball. We are not Brazil, but what we are known
Yeah.
for is, you understand,
Great.
the
Yeah.
great
We're going with everything.
efforts. We're going with
Yeah.
everything. We'll put in a sliding tackle. We'll shove someone off the ball. People
Like,
want to
I
see
think if
the
you think about this and think about the image that some of our top players have, Steven Appiah, as
yes,
talented as he is, people know him for being a bully.
yes.
Sule Muntari, people know him for being very
Even as
aggressive.
Samoa Gyan, like as
Michael
a
Essien,
striker,
people know him for being no nonsense.
yeah. So
John
that's what
Mensah. So
even
you think about these guys, and that's the character.
What
Yeah,
Kojo
yeah,
Asamoah, like they were all
yeah.
known to be solid. Kojo
Ajiman
Asamoah
Bedu,
was very,
Anthony
very,
Annan.
yeah, like very, very strong, very, very robust, very, very versatile.
Yeah,
So we needed to see that. And I think for the first time I began to see that. So some are crediting it to the influence of some of the senior players like Asamoah Gyan, because
yeah,
look at someone like Kudus, like he probably watched Asamoah Gyan on the TV during the 2010 World Cup.
yeah,
So these are players that they also look up to. But I think another
yeah,
point which I need to mention is the leadership change. Somehow,
yeah,
having someone like Jordan changes a lot, because when, even though Andre is very, very good, you had a feeling, and Otoado also did mention it, you have a feeling that they tend to depend on him a bit more.
yeah.
It tends to be a bit more
See, too
directive.
much seniority.
Yes, like directive. Rather with Jordan, they feel a sense of closeness, as you can see. They feel like it's one of
Yeah,
us just leading us. He has more experience, he's more quiet, he's more
yeah,
understanding of them, he's a bit more passionate. And you can see that Jordan himself, his football IQ and is very, very high. And some of the experience which he's had, you are beginning to see it come to the forefront, right?
yeah,
And the last the last thing for me also is that I think that the players are getting to know themselves much better. Now
yeah,
there's a bit consistency in the call-ups. At first, we could call literal separate squads. Some people come in, cause a fight, like leave certain statements in the media, don't come back again. But now we are seeing
yeah.
a coherent setup, and we are seeing players beginning to play a bit more consistently. So I think they are beginning to know themselves. Antoine Semenyo, who used to, when he comes to play for Ghana, like he wants to play like a princess. Now you can see that he was trying to run with the ball, doing some of the things that he does
Eh,
on much.
you, you are too petty.
I only
but
describe that. So.
but yeah, I think if you listen to, I mean, for Asamajan's comments, the most important part was him telling him that, look, the clubs would always tell you to be too careful because they don't want you to get injured and the rest and all that. But you also know that if you are in the club and you don't play for your national team, they start to undervalue you to some degree, right? Because that's also a dent on your own stock, like your own stock value in terms of how you appeal to your nation, to the fans, to the
Yeah.
people, because they would want you to be an international footballer or an
Yes.
international to get international call-ups. And so he was saying that they told them every single time. But when you come, you also know that it's a special opportunity to show your value, not
Yeah.
just to your country, but also to the club, that you can retain your space as one of the best footballers from your nation. And you could see, like you said, that aggression was a lot more there in the game against Madagascar, which, because people's fears against Madagascar was that we will be bullied because they're a lot more physical.
Oh yeah.
But you couldn't see any trace of that physicality from them because we were much more proactive in that aspect of being much more offensive. Um, One thing that Jordan Ayew said in his interview prior to the match, I think with Daniel Cranting, was about the team synergy, and he said that people sort of judge this team with the expectations from the individual talents, and then they put them together. So, oh, we have Kudus, we have Jordan, we have Partey, we have this, we have that. So these are very high profile players, so they should be delivering. But like you said, his comment was, if you look at this team, this is a team that they didn't come from the same academies. They
Mhm.
didn't come from the same junior national team, unlike Spain or France or some of these other countries where they've developed a bond. They've been called up consistently. This is a team undergoing reconstruction, but unfortunately, that reconstruction is also with a set of players who have never played with each other for a very long, like who have never played with each other. So the only time they get to spend together is the national team call-ups. And those times is not when you are even getting to know people, to make friends or anything. It's like you are just coming to do your job and go away because it's a very short period. And you and I understand how feeling human and humanizing each other in each other's eyes could go a long way to fight a lot more for the team than just to come and play your role and your position and go away. And so I think them maybe focusing a lot more on trying to create human connections between themselves, trying to build a culture of a team, as opposed to with just a set of individuals who've been called up to come and play, which he said is now their focus. Now they found a consistent set. Now they are trying to build beyond just call ups. They are trying to build some relations. They are trying to build some friendships. Because, like he said, he made a very good analogy that if he's playing at his club with a player who he's trained week in, week out on the field, when he makes a run, the player knows where he's going to end up and can make a pass even before he gets there. That's how they read the game ahead of opponents and create tactical advantages. He's never played with Semenyo before. So if Semenyo has a ball and he makes a run, Semenyo doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know whether he's running diagonal or straight. He doesn't know whether he likes to hold the ball or likes to be played in behind for him to run and follow the ball. He also doesn't understand Semenyo's plays that much. He doesn't understand Inaki's play that much. And so they need time. Obviously, they don't have that time, but do you think we should start measuring our criticisms with some level of appreciation of the context within which this team is being built? Take away all the corruption and the terrible stuff from the GFA. The team itself and the individuals need time to form that connection. Because even at club level, when a team undergoes the overhauling of this nature, like Chelsea has undergone, we say they need time to build those connections and to build back some understanding amongst themselves. Do you think we should start tempering our criticism of the Black Stars with some context and appreciation of that context that they are coming from?
I just want to say that these are professional footballers. Like I play with my buddies on a Wednesday night, and like I don't know half of the people over there. I just turn up. Like Andy, that's all
Yeah.
I just turn up. I don't even warm up. I don't
No,
even
but come on, you are not reducing
listen.
the
I don't even
quality
have
and the
any warm up session.
importance.
No, listen. But my point is because I know that I'm a player who I love football. I know what my strength is. I go in there and I
Yeah.
set myself into the game. So there are some days I even have to play up top because I realize that what the team needs is someone who is maybe a bit more
Hey,
physical
hey,
and
hey,
can
hey,
hold the
hey, hey,
ball
hey, hey.
over there, even though
Then there's a shortage of footballers in your area. I should move there soon. Because what's how are you playing up top
if
for
there's
a
a
team?
shortage of footballers,
Bro.
why would they? But the point I'm trying to make is that the quality of these players
Yeah,
we had within the Ghanaian setup, they shouldn't be losing to
yeah.
Congo. They shouldn't be losing to the Chads. They shouldn't be losing to the Madagascars. Like, no
No,
disrespect
but
to that
Erasmus,
nation.
see, get
No,
me. You have a team
no,
that's
no, but
changing in lineup every single game.
I'm answering your question. Like
Yeah,
the quality that they have shouldn't be
yeah,
limited by whether you've played with someone before or not, because football is also about instructions, what your coach has told you and how you're able to
yeah,
execute it on the field. I'm not downplaying that this can't have an effect. I'm saying yes, I can understand to a degree that this affects the consistency in your results, but the way they were playing was diabolical.
yeah.
It was diabolical. It wasn't a case of, oh, we need chemistry. It was diabolical. Like you could see that some of these players didn't want to be there. Like you could see some of their interactions with the media afterwards. They didn't want to be there.
But
They,
it's
they were
all because the
the
team
passion.
was not set. The team, they
No,
don't know each other.
no, but that's what I'm saying. That like you may know each other and still play rubbish. So it's
But he said it's because they don't know each other. That's why they were
no,
playing
but
rubbish.
but I'm saying that I can understand to a degree, but the level at
Yeah,
which they were playing it was not. That being said, you can see that as this chemistry is growing within the team, they are
yeah,
getting much better. You can even still see some of the misplaced passes, like Kudus
yeah,
trying to
yeah, 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 yeah.
do much and Jordan getting frustrated. But these things can happen. But if there is, you are united in
Yeah.
purpose and united that we want to win the game, that wouldn't bother you because previously, if Kudus had tried to dribble, it flopped. Next, you see Jordan Ayew, he's in the corner
He too.
and he's
Yeah.
doing something. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about like forget those points which you give. Obviously, if chemistry improves, that's better. But another
Yeah.
point I also want to make is that we need to start looking our talent pipeline, right? Because
Yeah.
right now, the kind of players that we are getting are players who are like people are able to make the moves directly from Africa to Europe now without having to
Yeah.
go through like the development, the national pipeline, the team
Yeah.
pipeline.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
First, it
Yeah.
was your local clubs who scout a player, he's doing well. Then now these days, scouts are going into the villages,
To go and scout
they're going to
directly.
the rural areas, they're going to they have set up clubs here in Ghana. And
Or
scout,
even me cry, I was being scouted just yesterday,
please,
but
please don't let me close the laptop. Don't do that again. So,
what
Kola,
what are you trying to say?
what's this? You spoiled my mood for the podcast.
Eh, I was given they came to scout me yesterday. I have a whole scouting report. What are you trying to say?
Please, let me move on. So, so these days you're
Yeah.
having kids as young as 12 years, 14 years who are moving
Yeah.
straight to Europe. So they are not joining our black satellites. They are not joining our black starlets. I've even forgotten their name. Um,
All because
I think there's
I was
metro.
scouted. Now
There's
now you are
meteorites, there's
shocked.
satellites, everything is there's black moons,
So,
black sun. No, but so you are not having them go through that. And I think the what's key to that is because at first we know that these players play in
Charlie, will you be my agent? Continue, continue. It's okay. I'll
thank you.
let you continue.
So so you are not having the synergy which you used to see in terms of them
Yeah.
following the same route of development, in terms of them forming those relationships. So we need to rethink because now we're having them meet in
Yeah.
North Zealand very soon. The entire Black Star setup will be right to dream. They have their own cliques
Yeah.
to come before you break.
Yeah.
And now we are recruiting people who were born outside a bit more because like they are growing
Yeah.
up in some of these academies. And previously they didn't have the appetite to come and play. But now
Yeah.
like playing for Ghana is a huge thing because you go to the World Cup, you play at that stage,
Yeah.
you're a big move. So a lot of them are having the appetite to come back, even though they were born in Netherlands, they were born in England. They want to come back. So we need to
Spain.
find
Yeah.
the right cradle to be able to put them in to get the sort of like synergies that we need.
Yeah. I think moving like once we get a settled team, the transition plan or the succession plan for that team would be the most important part because we need to get it right. We need to do it gradually to make sure that once we start seeing someone is aging out, you are bringing in an understudy, you are bringing in somebody who can easily fill in the gap. We shouldn't wait to this point where all the good squads leave and then we have this huge gap that we need to start filling with a new bunch of people. But I wanted us to move on to just analyze some very highly impacting individuals who had featured in this two round of games. And I wanted us to look at the role they played and how you evaluate them. So the first one I want to talk about is Thomas Partey because, bro, the guy can play ball. See, there are a few there. See, he comes from where I come from, right? His name is Tay. He comes from Odumase Krobo. You see the heritage, you see the lineage, you see the reason why some people were around me yesterday. But I mean, let's focus on Thomas. His impact in the national team when he came for these two games against Chad, like the way in which he was controlling the midfield, making everyone take the passes that he was making, I don't know why. Maybe it's because at the club they don't use him like that because he's used more as a defensive shield in the club. But bro, I think he's probably one of the most brilliant attacking minds in terms of passes of play when you come to football. It's just that they don't use him outside or at his club at that in that sense. Because if you look at it very, very well, and against Madagascar when he was pushed up front to play that double 10 role with Jordan, it was just beautiful to watch. Because every time they've pushed him up front to play a much more attacking role, also he delivers. Either he scores a goal or he delivers an assist. And he scored two goals, two headers. This is also a point I wanted to make. Ateta, keep doing your header. I mean, he will lose you the league, but he will give us goals in Ghana. We don't care. Keep doing your header training. And Ateta's set piece manager. He's the best coach in the world. Keep it. See, this one thing I'll support Ateta fully. If anybody dares argue against Ateta's coaching, you are in trouble. Even though me, I'll be back here next week lambasting them over losing to Madrid, but it doesn't matter. For today, Ateta is the best coach in the world, and his set piece coach, I remove cap for him. Hey,
I'm
two
guessing,
set
I'm
pieces,
guessing
two
that
corners,
there's
two
also
goals.
Kroboduma.
He's from.
Oh, it's from Soma.
I'm not even. I'm not even going to respond to you. What do you mean Ateta is also from Kromodumasi? But yeah, Partey's influence in the team was really instrumental. And I think also having him brought some seniority to the midfield and some real experience, not just from the pedigree of a player that he is, but also experience in the Black Stars and the number of games he's played, how many caps he has, and all that. And you see, this is somebody who can command and instruct how the midfield should play. Because you know this thing in the team where it's like when you are young and you are a player and you are seeing a lot of wrong things happening, it takes some level of audacity to to call people to order. And even sometimes when you call them to order, they will say, "Hey, why are you screaming at me?" Then they will shout back at you. But if it's Partey issuing instructions, move back, make this pass, move here, he points this finger, this person makes a move. He makes the midfield a lot more fluid. And I hope that it continues because we could all see when Otuado and him had these skirmishes and then he said he's not coming to play. We all saw what happened to us, what happened to us in our midfield. But yeah, he's had a really, really huge impact. And as somebody from Krobodumasi, I'm really proud. But now that you are wearing the jersey because of what Partey has done for the national team and because of what I'm yet to do, what exactly is your assessment of Thomas Partey?
I thought you've made all of the assessments. I think like
You don't have any assessment on the Dumasi Krobo people.
no, no, but no, I think yeah, you've said everything in terms of
Yeah,
what he brings to the team. Maybe
yeah.
the player that I would like to give a shout to is the new goalkeeper Benjamin Asare.
Okay, I have him on the list that we'll talk about.
Yeah, so
So, I mean, you can start a conversation about him
yeah,
as
so
well.
I think he was fantastic. Like, which is a key
Yeah,
thing for me because like there's no team you can't build a proper team without having a confident goalkeeper. But what's intriguing is that
Sanchez,
it's what's intriguing is that he's
Sanchez,
good on the ball. He's actually
Robert
good on the ball.
Sanchez.
He's actually very, very good on the ball because, like, I could see that there was a lot of confidence in him when the ball was
Yeah,
approaching, like his rhythm in the game. He was
yeah,
commanding the back line, which is very strange for someone who
yeah.
you think it's a debut. He should like come. Nah, he looked very, very, which is something we've
You
missed
see,
in a long while. Like we've had like the beekeepers. Like I mean, we can recruit the bee in every part of it, but when it comes to our keepers and our defense, please, please, please,
Ocha Tizigi.
yeah, like this guy is. It's drip no yard also. This guy is 32 years old, and you should see he's hungry. You can
Bro,
see it in his
and
eyes.
this is first call up as well.
Yeah, I mean, like we've
And
not seen that. His foot, like he shoots the
yeah,
ball very, very, very well.
for me, you see, first of all, the most impressive thing about him is he's a leader. And if you look at him, he's the captain of Accra Folk as a goalkeeper. And
Yeah.
for a club of that pedigree, no matter how terrible the Ghana Premier League is, having a goalkeeper as the captain instead of having any talisman who is scoring the goals or having a midfield maestro who is creating some assists should tell you because there are very few goalkeepers in football who end up captaining their side. And a lot of the time, those are people who are very commanding, very, very influential, and are able to dictate the way in which their backlines operate. But also, that gives him a sense of confidence, right? If you're a goalkeeper and you're the captain, by default, there's some authority that's vested in you
Yeah.
to be able to make things happen and make people listen to you. And when he was brought in, that's the first thing you could notice a difference between him and Atizigi. He has a mouth, he talks. He is not like somebody whose mouth has been zipped in the post, and whatever is happening, he doesn't care. He's just waiting. Then, if they score him, he would retie his rasta and then move on. Charlie, the guy is really, really outspoken. And a lot of people were saying, he's not being tested. There's not been shots on him. And that's why, first of all, he's actually been tested a few times. He's just not made them dangerous because I've seen him come out for some balls that Atizigi would have been tight in the post, waiting for them to drop before they come to him. Benjamin Asare has gone out of his way to handle those balls much properly, such that it doesn't become even a chance. In Atizigi's goal post, that's a clear chance. That's a 0.75 xg right there. but but Asari didn't allow that to happen. But also, secondly, if you look at the way he instructs his backline, it's the reason why those things don't happen because he has a much wider field of vision than
Yeah.
his backline, which means being able to tell them double up, being able to tell them stay back, come forward. Also, I don't mean this to mean what Onana was doing, coming out of his goalpost to come and instruct free kick. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about instructing the back line, right? But yeah, he did it so well, which meant that he had much more command of the situation. But I also think that if you are building a team and you have a lot more leaders in the team, which is something we always say in football, that every successful team has a lot more leaders. And if you look at some of the world's best national teams, these are teams that have captains of several club teams
Yeah.
coming together to make that national team. And that's what we are seeing with him as well. He's a captain. He commands his backline. He's coming there and he's expressing that dominance as well, which is something that you need from a Ghanaian goalkeeper. So for me, I'm really really proud of the two games that he's played, and I can see signs that if we keep him. And it's good that for once, Otuado has been able to say he's for now Ghana's number one, which means that they are also recognizing that competition and the way in which he's performing as well. Because Ghana, there, like we would have heard that, oh, Atizigi is back on top. But yeah, one person I also wanted to give a shout out to before we wrap up is Jordan Ayew. I mean, if you look at the Chad game, he was playing as a lone striker. If you look at the Madagascar game, like you said, he was playing like a double 10, moving into the left wing and all that. And there's somebody who said sometimes his versatility is his strength, but sometimes it's also his weakness. Because the coaches know they can use him in so many different ways, they sometimes don't prioritize him in a fixed position, which means that sort of tend to deprioritize him in the way in which they are using or profiling other players. And they go like, oh, Jordan, he can fit anywhere we put him, right? But that also means he also doesn't get to be used to within the team as a consistent in a consistently specific position. So players in that sphere of the field do not get used to him. Like he was brought back as a 10. Players in the midfield and the wings are not used to him playing as a 10. Then he was put up there as what, a lone striker. Players on the wings might not be used to him as a lone striker. Sometimes he's playing on the flanks. Whoever, the left back or the right back, might not be used to him in that world as well. So you think about those scenarios, and but I think in all that, these two games, he's been the single captain who's led by example. He's provided assists, he's scored goals,
Hat-trick
and
of
he's been
assist.
a high, like a hat trick of assists. If Messi did this, Fabrizio would have tweeted a 70 tweets about Messi's hat trick assist. Jordan Ayew did it there. They are sleeping. We'll get them. But Jordan has been very, very brilliant
I
in this
agree.
past two games.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Like, and like, I think I like his style of leadership too, in the sense of
Yeah.
leading
Do
more by
it.
example rather than
Yeah.
just talking or clapping, or not to say those who clap didn't do well. Mhm. I like the style too.
But yeah, I think all in all that there's confidence growing in the team. But I would also hope that this gives Otuado some breathing space to think about how to get the team going, how to build that structure and that stability. And I think if you look at it, the introduction of Stephen Appiah, Asamajan, it's quieted down things a bit in terms of the media circus around the team because there were a lot of here and there noises, but they went on tours to calm people down and all that. Stephen Appiah had to speak to Partey to return, so many different things. But I hope that the team, as it started, would keep on going. But the GFA, they should be there. We'll
We'll
be
talk,
back.
we'll talk about them.
We'll be back. But yeah, this has been an assessment and a review of Ghana's two World Cup qualifying matches. We are currently top of the group, 5 points clear of Madagascar, and it's so nice. But one thing I liked Otuado say is we've still not qualified yet. There are two more games to go, and we should really, really do well. But Erasmus, oh, Victor Osimhen, Osi,
He
Osi.
said they said you now you can buy Super Falcon meat. Is it Super Eagle or Super Falcon? They've used it for suya. They don't want to go to Super.
Hey,
They should
he
export
said that
their egos to tech to USA.
the eagle couldn't fly. The
Yeah.
eagle is dead.
Victor Osimhen
But I think
is an eagle in Turkey.
eh, the Nigerians, the main problem is that they roasted Ghanaians when we didn't qualify for the
That's why
AFCON.
they've
And
also
now
been
Ghanaians are
roasted,
now
roasted
Ghanaians are gunning
eagle
for
meat.
them. Now they are roasted eagle meat. So eagle suya on the streets of Lagos.
You know why I'm doing this? Because Nigerians are the worst at trolling. They'll be like, the Ghanaians didn't see this coming. They didn't see this. Ghana must go. They,
Bro,
I need
they'll
to
throw you off.
be creative.
They, they'll throw you with all the creativity in their mind. Hey, but yeah, it's been a nice episode. We hope that there's a lot more um of episode. Some really beautiful ideas I've been thinking about some episodes that we can do. I'll tell you about it. I'm just saying it here so that people will be curious, but I'll tell you about it.
Bye bye.
And yeah, thanks everyone, and see you on the next episode.